Kia ora. Welcome back to the Careering Podcast with me, Melissa Davies, and my fabulous co-host, Kelsey Ingalls. Kia ora, Kelsey.
Kia ora.
We also have someone new in the house.
Ooh.
We have, in his new capacity, is our producer.
We're very fancy now.
We're fancy. Caleb. Welcome,
Kia ora.
Caleb.
Former special guest, now producer.
Yeah, man of many talents.
If you get too close to us, we will give you a job.
Yeah. Yeah, our friendship comes with catches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the good kind.
Excuse you.
So the three of us are here to do season 2, second part of the season, and we are going to start off with a bit of a lessons learned from the year so far as we sit here in winter 2024. But before we do that, how are you feeling, Caleb?
I'm feeling pretty chill. I'm excited. Chill but excited. Those two things don't go together, but that's how I'm feeling.
Not nervous.
Oh, very nervous.
I was like, I can see by your body
There's
language.
like hands holding together and
Yeah.
It's a bit cute.
How about you, Kelsey?
I'm just living my best life. I've got a sore hip like an old lady and I'm in bed by 8 o'clock and I'm just, it's winter and I am just being a fucking 90-year-old and it's great. I love it.
that.
Yeah, and also sleep is the shit. Like,
Oh, 100%.
I'll take what I can get at any point in time.
yeah.
Absolutely.
My new app keeps telling me that I'm like 12 hours in sleep debt and I'm like, get fucked. I'm not getting that back
What's
anytime
sleep
soon.
debt?
So they often say that you can't get back the amount of sleep that you lose. But if you are consistently lowering the amount of sleep that you get each night, you end up with a sleep bank or a sleep debt. And so I'm currently at 12 hours in sleep debt, whereas I usually average in 8 hours of sleep debt.
So basically you need to spend a day in bed napping.
Yeah.
So I have this topic that I really want to talk about. I think it's really interesting, and I think we've actually got a good range of people for this.
Okay.
It's discrimination in the workplace.
Oh, wow. Coming back hot.
I know. But I think with us here, we can talk about sex, age, weight, and sexuality. Because I think those are all really
Am I
interesting.
representing
You're the
age?
Yeah, who's representing what?
You're the old lady.
With the grandma.
I'll represent weight. You can represent the gays. And we're having a great time.
I like your ones better.
We're just having, unfortunately, we're all white people.
Yeah. Although we do have multi-ancestry.
Yeah, your family
however,
is-
we absolutely present as
White privilege.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Where do you wanna start?
Yeah, how do we start that?
Pretty much, have you guys had any challenges in the workplace because of your sex or your age or anything like that?
Such a big question. One of the things that I've definitely noticed is working across a number of organisations now in the engineering and technology field, I'm often one of the only females.
Yeah.
And even as I've shifted now into governance, that's certainly a male-dominated field, although thankfully becoming less so, but very much have spent most of my career in environments where I was usually the youngest. So I can talk about age from that lens.
Yeah.
Yeah, youth. I'm fine with being an old lady. It's a privilege some don't get. So I think what's interesting is I think most of us do come up against discrimination and biases in some way, shape or form. And it's almost easier when it's overt, when it's really clear that someone's ignoring you because of your gender or your age, because you go, okay, I can at least confront this.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's straightforward.
Let me womansplain this to you, Bradley.
Let me tell you all the ways you can get fucked.
But when for me, it's the covert stuff. It's those environments where women aren't invited to the table or there's no young people in the room because, they've got to earn their stripes. Those are the ones that are harder to deal with because it's not explicit. And then you become the problem if you're the one always challenging it, which I'm happy to be.
For me personally, I'm going to say like 90% of the people in my life are women. And seeing so many people so many women do so many incredible things in the workplace is what I love to see. Like you, Kelsey, Mum, like there's so many people that I get to see, like women in the workplace, and it's so cool to see.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But woman in charge, I don't know, like, even though I'm gay, woman in charge, that's like...
Where's this going?
no.
I think he's just being real nice to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right that you are surrounded by quite strong women.
Yeah, I love seeing it. It's just
Yeah.
like, it's even like for me, it's empowering to see
What's healthy masculinity?
Yeah. It's so cool to see though. Yeah. What about you, Kels?
Definitely had it with gender.
Yeah.
And just misogynistic dickheads. I think we've talked about it before, where I've had previous clients where they just would email my male boss over me
yeah.
because even though I was the one doing all the work on the project, just because I had a pair of tits. And then I've also experienced it with weight. I think when I've started at new places specifically, there's been a bit of there's just, all the stuff we've talked about previously about the assumptions that I'm lazy or I'm like a specific way, whereas I'm like, absolutely not, get the fuck out of my way, we've got shit to do.
Yeah.
And so I think it's when we make assumptions, right? Like it is, it's easy to do it and easy to put people in boxes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've experienced it. I've seen it all the time. Still see it now. Like, it just is constant.
Yeah, and we did that whole episode where we talked about the actual economic disadvantage that that fat women face, especially. Yeah. And then if you add, if you're not white presenting and you are fat and you are female.
And you're differently abled as well.
Yeah.
It all ends, you just are disadvantaged. Like you're just like incredible amount of cents on the dollar for people that have a minority label, like checkbox.
Yeah.
And so it is something that I think is so often just baked in.
Yeah.
And it just becomes so societal. And like you said, like the overt stuff, that stuff's the easy stuff. But a lot of the time, we don't even know we're doing it. Like I know that I can get to a place where I'm like, I'm so action orientated and I'm so like, let's go, let's move, let's do this. Where if people bring different thoughts to the table that slow us down, I'm like, no, shut up. We've got places to go. And I'm like, actually, no, that's not helpful for those situations because we do need to take that consideration in and then figure out how we move forward with it. And so I think it is there's that real sort of achievement side of things that can push things as well.
Yeah. Do you find it's harder as women to get things like promotions in the workplace or like new opportunities?
I personally don't.
You don't?
I think I've most of the time chosen organisations that manage that really well.
Yeah.
Because it is something that's discussed and understood across the organisation. And I guess I now choose to work for organisations that look at people's capability rather than their gender.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
feel,
great to see,
yeah, I feel really grateful for the places I get to work now because it is based on capability, not gender.
Yeah.
But I do believe that every human will have unconscious biases that actually prevent them from seeing fully and giving opportunities
100%.
to other humans.
Whether we want to admit it or not, we all have that internal bias.
Oh, yeah, totally.
That we can't get rid of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And especially when you're hiring people as well. Like I'm constantly looking at new people and bringing different people in. And like I have to be really careful to check myself to make sure I'm not having a female bias in it all and going, hang on a second, am I like making sure that we have a lot of have that diversity across the table, and it is my responsibility to do that and no one else's. But then when you're presented with these incredible women who come through, you're just like, yes, all of you. And so I'm like, I know we have to like balance things out because it hasn't been great for women previously, but at the same time, I also have a responsibility to hold a space for diversity in an organization. And so it's, you do have to be able to step back and take a moment and kind of look at how you're viewing the whole thing.
I think it's really interesting because at one of my previous jobs, I was in a customer service role. And I had this guy come up to me and he was like, I had nails at the time. And he's like, oh, can I talk to a real man? Not some homo with nails.
Are you serious?
Someone said that to you?
Yeah.
Out loud.
Out loud. Yeah. And I just
This is in Rangiora, right?
Yeah. And I just pointed and I said, down the other end. But no, there's been a few instances. And there was another one.
I'd probably lose my job if that were me.
I think that's the other thing is we typically don't face it because we wouldn't fucking put up with it.
It'd be quite career limiting if I was put in a situation where, but to be fair, when I was younger, I had to deal with that stuff, and it is quite intimidating.
I think when you are younger, though, you do have to, especially in a newer role,
you
do have to sort of, well, not pot up with it, but you can't react how you'd like to.
Well, I think you're trying to figure out your voice in the world, and it's harder to speak up in workplaces because often being the one that speaks up comes with negative connotations.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was awesome that we had the manager at the time at that store. I told her, and she was like, if anyone ever says that to you, tell them to get the fuck out. And so I was too scared to say, and it happened again, not the same person, but a similar situation, where someone's like, oh, well, you obviously don't know what you're doing. And she walks up to the guy and goes, she's the manager of the store, and she goes, what are you saying? And like he repeated it, and she goes, right, get out, bye, and just kicked him out.
I love that. Good.
And I was like, she is a baddie. I love her.
But what did that do for you in terms of your confidence in being at work? Like, how did that impact you going from someone who has been quite derogatory and discriminatory and negative to have your manager come in and behave that way and get that person to leave the store? How did that impact you?
I think just seeing one that a manager supports the workers is incredible, but it makes you fully feel like it's not a discriminative workplace. Like you like, oh, I actually am respected here. These customers are obviously having an issue with it, but the managers don't.
That's great. That's so good. I think her leadership and stepping in and creating a safe workplace for you is awesome. And it's so sad though that that's not always the norm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of different workplaces that just tell you to shush up and move on with it and just ignore it. And it's like, hang on a second.
Yeah, I was very lucky with that, is that they did not put up with it.
Yeah.
There was another one who was with HR, who was not like that. There was a situation basically, and there was an issue with two guys who were doing something. One of them said that I did it. I got punished immediately before they even spoke to me. Had a demotion and took them a month and a half to speak to me and even ask what happened on my side. But the other two who actually were involved got spoken to that day and had nothing happened to them. And I don't know. I don't know if it is because of my sexuality, but then in my head I'm like, this has happened multiple times I know of in this company, and it just feels like it. Like, it might not be, but in my mind, it just rolls in my mind. Is it because I'm gay?
But certainly there's a precedent was set and two people were treated consistently with previous incidents and one person was treated very differently.
Yeah.
And the responsibility of a workplace is to create psychological safety for every human, no matter their gender, their ethnicity, their sex, whatever. It is the responsibility to set an across-the-board standard that is blind. So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Have you guys had any situations like that where you're not sure if it is, but like in the back of your mind you feel like you're being treated differently because of age, sex, gender, weight, anything like that?
I've definitely had it with age.
Yeah.
But I deserved it.
She owns it.
Yeah, like I think that's the thing is like when you're in your 20s in the workplace and you are like, especially if you're a millennial and you've been in the like, I must drive to succeed and do the corporate game and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And like you're just like constantly pushing and pushing and pushing, and especially as a female, because I think you get told that you have to work harder to get to places. And then a lot of the things I did in my 20s, I'm like, probably could have chilled the fuck out a bit, Kelsey.
Yeah.
And you sometimes get left out of things because you don't need to be there. You don't need the context. There's no necessary need for you to be there.
Yeah.
But sometimes ego doesn't take that lightly especially when you're younger. And now, like you said before, I think with youth, you don't necessarily, when you speak up, there comes with negative consequences often. And now I'm like, no, just speak up because I have that time spent and I think confidence in that space. But there's definitely been places that have been left out of things, but for good reason.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to potentially blame it on one specific thing like my age.
Yeah.
But I look back on it now and I go, yeah, no, fair enough.
I'm glad that there are situations where we feel like we don't or we won't be punished for speaking up against what we believe in. But I think it's so bad because in many cases it is still people feel like they cannot speak up in workplaces. And I think especially workplace or just anywhere in general, that's horrible.
I think one of the things that I focus on is creating inclusive safe spaces. That's really important to me.
Yeah.
And it's a conscious choice. I think one of the challenges we have is traditional work environments are based on a 1970s patriarchal mechanistic style of work where you have hierarchy and structure and
especially in customer service roles as well. Yeah, and hospo.
Yeah. But there's still positional power. Like even in a flat structure like where you work, there's still positional power. When an owner is in a business or there's someone who you report into, there's power dynamics, which if
you have to respect, right?
But they're also very based on Western structures of working. And I think about sort of semi-autonomous teams and different work structures that enable people to feel more safe speaking up because you've got equality amongst a team environment. So when you're working in a structured organization, it is a lot harder because you have to create space for others to have a voice where the structure doesn't necessarily allow for that. So how you behave, like your leadership, is representative of how you'd like others to behave. So I do think there's a responsibility for anyone leading a team these days, be that an informal team, formal team, be it in a hierarchy or flat structure, to make sure that you're creating an environment where people can bring their whole selves to work, which takes effort. It's not something that just happens.
Yeah.
I think speaking to the equality of that though, like it is also the responsibility of the team members to participate in that. Like, yes, a leader has to create the space for that to happen, but people also have to show up in those environments to participate in it. And I think everyone brings a different version of themselves. And you have to be quite careful that you've got the right people in the right room to create that environment, because I can tell you right now, one person can completely destroy that from the inside out.
Yeah, and I think to that point, if you do have people that are destroying that psychological safety, I remember years ago, all of my analogies are rugby. Like I'm like, I need to broaden my
That's great. I love it.
Watching my sporting preferences, because I always talk about like when you've got, say, a halfback that's having a really bad game, and then other people start playing out of position to overcompensate for that person. Everyone's performance is negatively impacted, and if you're not addressing it, that reflects on you as the coach. You know, people are looking at you to be like, this performance is actually negative. Like this person's got a bad attitude, or they're just having a really bad game, or they're super distracted, and it's impacting all of us. If you're not addressing that issue, that shows everyone else that poor behavior is okay, and it just erodes all of the trust. And I think about that quite a lot around, I think here in Aotearoa, we have quite a non-confrontational style. So having a conversation with someone who is behaving badly.
So hard.
It's so hard, right? So we seem to be more comfortable, almost passive-aggressive discriminatory behaviours, less comfortable having an assertive feedback conversation with someone who's actually negatively impacting everyone around them. It's so bizarre.
It's fascinating. And even if you are comfortable having that conversation, people are not comfortable receiving it on the other side and being open to receiving it as well. And so it just is like this cycle of fucking chaos.
But it's such a skill that you can build with time and practice. And I really encourage everyone, just professionally, if you can receive feedback well, and if you can give feedback well, and you have a commitment to deal with, you know, the rotten apple as soon as you sense that it's starting to go off, rather than leaving it for a week because you can't be fucked, you know, dealing with the fruit bowl.
I've done that many a time. Like, you know, those moments where you're like, I know I have to deal with this and I know I have to get on top of it, but it is the final straw that's going to break me this week.
Because it is hard. Like, you've got to get yourself in the right headspace.
And you have to be able to get to the crux of the issue and then the outcome that you need from it, and be able to really explain that well. And to do that with people, they often want to tell you their side of the story, and to get them past the he said, she said into a constructive place of action, it is fucking hard.
I think people underestimate, when you are leading teams, how much time needs to be set aside from the doing to be with and supporting people in the team. Especially if there's someone who's being discriminated against, because that emotionally and time-wise takes a lot of effort to support that person. It takes a lot of time and effort to deal with the rotten mandarin in the bunch.
That's exactly right.
I just had a thought. Speaking about like speaking to people. in the workplace in leadership positions, is there anything that you feel like people can do who are in leadership positions that they can do to make their team feel like they can come and talk to them about issues they're having?
For me, it's making space and availability with your time, so that, because the tension is, if you are in a leadership position and you have work that you have to deliver, you're often really time poor, and the worst thing you can do is be seen by everyone as extremely busy and not have time for them.
Yeah.
People appreciate that you're busy, but if you set it up that you're busy and you'll make time for them because they're important to you.
Yeah,
It
and
makes it seem like an
especially
inconvenience.
especially in a non-confrontational New Zealand, people go, "Oh, she's busy. I'm not going to bother her."
Yeah.
And it's like, no, fucking bother me. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get me out of
it's
this work
fine.
cloak.
Yeah.
Like, my job is literally to be bothered by you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so making sure that others know that you might be busy, but they're more important than the busy work.
Yeah.
And so setting that up and reinforcing that over time, that just comes with building relationships and building trust.
Work's important, but so are they.
Yeah, them more so. And then I think the other thing is when you're having those conversations is how present you are in those moments and how you respond if someone's coming to you with, in quite a heightened emotional state, making sure that your emotionality your EQ, your emotionality is managed really, really well, because it can be quite full on if someone's coming in, bringing their anger and frustration and sort of throwing it out at you, or they're really upset and throwing, that they're not coherent because they're so consumed by the
Crying on the
feelings.
other side of the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how you manage yourself to stay empathetic and supportive without committing to anything. I think one of the biggest things I've learned over time is when someone wants to talk to me about a situation that they need support with, is the worst thing I can do is try and solve the problem in that moment. The best thing I can do is just hold space for them and then ask them for time to reflect and come back again.
Yeah.
And then share with them what an appropriate plan of action might be. Now, obviously some things need to be dealt with then and there.
Yeah.
But ideally, if I can just let them talk and then let them reflect, I reflect, and then we collaborate on what the approach is, then we both have more confidence that we're going to address it in the right way.
Yeah.
But it can be quite tempting, especially if someone has been like, if you came to me and you were like, this customer did this, my reaction to that initially would be, well, let's just get them banned for life. Easy. However, that's not necessarily constructive, nor am I helping you process it and you take ownership of the situation and manage it through so you know how to handle it next time. And so I've definitely learned with time to on the I will fight them for you and to be more comfortable just holding space.
It's so hard though. You're just like, let me at him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with age, I've learned this.
Good. Definitely, like, I think, on the age topic, because I'm a fair chunk of the team that I work with are older than me.
Yeah.
Honestly, never been a problem. I think
awesome.
it's also because I'm just like, shut the fuck up and do the thing.
Yeah.
You also don't seem young. Like,
I look old is what she's saying.
No, but I think how some people have quite a narrow and naive worldview.
Yeah.
And that makes them seem young. They could be
Seems
70,
more,
they
yeah.
could be 20, doesn't matter, but their worldview is
Is
Their
it
mind
because
is
of all my
younger
swearing
almost.
and ranting about the patriarchy?
and travel and chaotic travel stories, life experiences. I think that's what makes people seem more grounded, like in experience, basically, life experience. Because I've definitely had the opposite. When I was 28, that was my first pretty significant role as running the retail business for BOC in Queensland. So $100 million business, 17 staff, all of which were older than me, all of which were men. And two of them said to me, I've never worked for a woman before. One of them said to me, you're younger than my kids.
Oh, God.
But see, the overt stuff, I'm fine with that because I'm like, that's an interesting thing to say out loud. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought you've just had.
But it means you can have a conversation about it and you can work through it together.
I love when people are open-minded about it as well.
Yeah.
Like if they do have
I mean,
a
these
certain
guys
view.
weren't.
Oh, well, but if people are and they are willing to have an open mind and open conversation about it, I think it makes the workplace easier for everyone.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It also does. I've been writing notes as we've been talking.
Okay.
Look at you.
Yeah. But quickly, what do we think of friendships in the workplace?
I'm all about we met at work.
Yeah.
But do you think like if you're in a workplace and people are friends with, if for example, like we're you're my manager, we're hanging out. Do you think that affects our working relationship?
Absolutely, because you're also my nephew, and that'd be super weird.
Well, no, yes, but not. That aside, if we were in the workplace and say that we were friends, you're the manager, I'm the worker, we're hanging out outside of work, and then if you had an issue, Kelsey, and like the issue was with me, would you feel that I had an advantage in that situation?
100%. 100%. Yeah.
I think because in the last year and a half, I have transitioned from being in the team to leading the team.
Yeah.
And
that's an interesting view as well, going up.
Yeah. It is. It took me, it was a real moment. Also, I'm going to address it. If you can hear the tinkling of the bell, it is the cat just fucking into everything. She was just in a bag. So
this is also the same cat that just normally lays around and does nothing. And suddenly
she's gung ho. She's rock and rolling. Anyway, what were we talking about? Moving into the leadership role. I think it depends on the capability of the people around you, but absolutely as a leader, she just did a backflip. The cat just did like a backflip off the top of the couch. Anyway, it depends on the people around you. There are some people that you can only have as an employee and others that you can have a more friendly relationship with, but I've definitely had to reconcile it and pull back significantly and being okay with being pulled back and not being included in a lot of stuff, because also I have to give space to the team to be not okay with some of the decisions that I have to make for the business.
Yeah.
And it was hard. As someone who's like a people pleaser and needs everyone to like me, it was really fucking hard. But I think I was talking about it with our CEO the other day. One thing that I have really leaned into in the last 3 months is just straight intolerance for bullshit.
Yeah. I like that.
And I think that also comes with age.
Yeah.
But I think I'm okay with it as long as you know when to turn off the friendship and when to turn on the work chat. But you also, there is a line. Yeah. There is an invisible line there, absolutely.
I think your point is an interesting one though, Caleb, around what are other people's perceptions of those relationships.
Yeah.
And I've definitely been in environments where if we talk about the boys club, there's also the girls club, right? Yeah. There's the girls that go shoe shopping together and do things at lunchtime together or go running or do Pilates before work together, and 3 people go and 3 people
in a cliques,
are excluded. And so for me, if you want to create a safe workplace, you have to have inclusion.
And you have to stamp that shit out.
Yeah. Or it's discussed openly and there's an open invite and there genuinely is an intention for everyone to participate. It's when only those 3 are invited and the others are intentionally excluded. That's what creates fraction.
Yeah. And also, it's fucking high school bullshit. And we're in a workplace. Grow the fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, you're going to work with people that you don't. Now the other cat's joining in. So,
Jesus, there's fucking 2 of them now.
It's about to, if it sounds like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, full gas in the background. it's because for some reason the cats think we've turned the living room into their parkour course.
This one looks like it's going to bite me.
She might. Cool. So, do you have a TikTok or a tweet of the week?
I did. Well, mine was more of a question. My tweet is more of a quote that I saw Hold Mine, not sponsored, repost. If you have to work, you might as well work on your dream. Give it a shot. I like that.
That's cute.
Loves an inspo quote.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
That's cute. I like that. Yeah. What about you guys?
Oh my God, the cat just about fucking unhinged all of the microphones. Sorry.
As she should.
You go.
So mine's from X/Twitter. This is my favorite Twitter account. If you're a tweeter, get amongst it. It's the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation.
Oh my God, I love them.
They're so good. This one says, because we're talking about friendships, relationships, etc. This weekend, you should launch your boat the same way you'd launch a new relationship on Instagram. 1, with extreme levels of precision. 2, let your friends supervise.
I love this. Great.
So, Kels, TikTok at us.
Okay, hang on. This is related to my my theme of the week.
Just thought you guys should know that the Scottish have a word for laying around in bed after it's time to get up, and it's called herkle-durkling. I do be herkling and I do be durkling, and once I've herkled my last durkle in a given morning, I will get up. But I'm a big fan of a herkle-durkle, so you should be too.
See, I love a Herkle-Durkle. I
You're a
think I'm Herkling and Durkling all the weekends.
So you
and-
can get your 12 hours of sleep.
Yeah,
debt
so I can
sorted.
get rid of my sleep debt. I don't think it counts towards my sleep debt, but I feel better about it. So I'm all about a Herkle-Durkle.
Rest is important.
Yeah, it
rest
is.
rest and recovery are an important part of performance. This is my
100%.
new
R&R is so important.
mantra.
Corporate athletes.
Do you know, Caleb just said R&R, and it sounds like you were saying like an Australian R&R.
That's apparently,
If you say
how-
R&R in a fake American accent,
that's
you
how
sound
you-
like an Australian saying
That's how you get taught how to say, oh no, it's R&R.
R&R.
Yeah.
R&R. We've come to the end of the episode.
How sad.
So thank you so much for joining in. We appreciate
Thank you for
you.
having me. Executive producer realness.
Yeah. So if you could like us on all the platforms, rate us 5 stars, share us with your friends, send us through any suggestions for pod eps, that would be amazing.
Send us to a colleague you don't like, or
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not. I don't want to know about your drama. We've got enough of our own.
Yeah. Fabulous. Ka kite ano.